Here's the new head basketball coach of San Diego State. Here's Brian Dutcher on Scott and BR on the Mighty 1090. Hi, Coach.
Hey, guys, long-time listener, first-time caller.
There you go.
See how excited he is? He wants to do this. He's so ready to do this.
Coach, congratulations. I'm just curious. We talked to Coach Fisher last night, and he said, I'll still be on the job till June because I'm not giving up those paychecks. So he said, technically, I'm still the head coach. And I thought to myself, okay, but Coach Dutcher, how was today, your first day as head coach at San Diego State?
It was good. We had our first workout when I was the head coach, and we talked to the team, and Coach poked his head in, and Mark was there, obviously, Fisher. His son works with us, and so I talked to the team. I told Coach to come over and how great they were representing themselves and us at the press conference, and Coach thanked them for that. And then I was doing all the talking, and we went through the workout. And Coach, it's that uncomfortable situation where he doesn't know if he should stand there and watch the whole thing, so he's poking in, poking out. It was really funny. And so the workout got over, and I just missed the team, and I went up to Coach and put my arm around him, and I told him, okay, that's it for me. I'm done. I'm retiring.
Do you have – I'm just curious, and we got a lot of things we want to talk about. This is Brian Dutcher, the new head basketball coach at San Diego State. Do you have any fears, trepidation, nervousness, whatever, that after all these years of sitting there on the bench and all these years of having this title of coach in waiting, it's finally your time? Any fears of any kind?
Scott, it's surprising, but absolutely none. And, when I'm not a 28-year-old first-time coach or 34, I'm 57 years old. And so I feel like anything that's happened in this business, I've seen it happen, I've dealt with it. And obviously, moving that 18 inches to the head coach's chair makes everything different. But I don't feel like anything could occur that I haven't seen and been a part of. And so that gives me great comfort. And the other thing is when you take over a job, say they didn't have me as coach in waiting and coach retired, and they hired me from the outside. Well, then I'd have to come in. I'd have to hire a staff. Who wants to come with me? Who's available? Who can I hire as a staff? Learn about the program. And so when Coach retires, all I do is move over. Justin Hudson's still here. Dave Velasquez is still here. Tim Shelton's still here. Marvin Adams is here. And so it's like we just went to work. It's not like you're hiring a staff. You're trying to do something new. You're bringing people in and out. And it's just everybody slid over one chair, and it kind of has gone seamlessly, obviously, at this point.
See, that would be the part that would make me fearful, though.
Yeah?
Only because it's like you were just the assistant head coach. Now you're the head coach. And so I knew you and respected you as the role that you were in,
right.
But now you're in this new role. That would be like my one insecurity if I were in that role. Like, will everybody respect me the way they're supposed to respect me?
But I think that you would be comforted by the fact that you'd been watching him for so long, and that makes the transition that much easier, that you've been watching one of the greatest in the business, and you've seen him react to every single situation that you can.
The thing is, I won't be judged in this position until we play games, and I'll be judged like all coaches on my win-loss record. Now, there are other things that go into it that people that are in the university and around the university will see. Are the kids behaving themselves? Are they maintaining grade point averages? Is Dutcher out in the public speaking and doing a good job representing the university? For the university standpoint and the people that know me, that will be important. But in the end, most of the listeners will judge me based on my win-loss record.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I asked this question, and I heard you talk about this yesterday with Darren. Is it true? I mean, you really found out when everybody else found out in the morning when Coach called a meeting?
Honest to goodness. And it was strange because, I've been with Coach 30 years, and so I'm like, well, maybe he'd have told me after the banquet Sunday night, or maybe he'd have called me in first. And say, hey, Dutch, I'm going to tell everybody I'm retiring. And we're all sitting there, and he calls Leanna in, office manager, and he calls Sergio, the trainer, and Randy, the strength coach. And I don't even get it at that point. Why is everybody in this meeting? And then Coach says, I'm handing the reins over to Dutcher. And then half my hair fell out, and the other half turned gray.
Oh, that's funny.
Coach, what can you tell us, because we've been reading about it in the 24 hours since the press conference, that even though you had the title of head coach in waiting, and even though J.D. Wicker returned as athletic director and honored what had been set up by his predecessor, apparently you don't have like a contract in place quite yet. What is the status of you and the head coaching contract at San Diego State?
You know, Scott, it was always an interesting situation because when this move was made all these years ago, it wasn't just Jim Sturk says, you're going to be the coach in waiting. And this is an interesting story. You know, Coach goes to Jim Sturk, I'd like to make Brian coach in waiting. Jim says, I think that sounds great. Let's go to Sally Rauch, who was running the business operations for the university. Sally says, that sounds great. Let's go to President Weber. And President Weber says, that sounds great, but let's call the chancellor's office. And so at this point, I'm thinking, well, the chancellor's office, they don't know me at the chancellor's office. Well, they called the chancellor's office, and they said, yeah, go ahead and do it. We like the idea. And it came back, and then President Weber says, well, maybe I'm leaving. Maybe we ought to wait till Elliot Hirschman comes in. We'll ask him. And so Elliot Hirschman says, well, I don't know, Brian, but you guys have been along the process. I'll honor what you guys want to do. And so it wasn't like two people saying this was just going to happen.
God,
this ran
somebody
through
just make a
1,000 people.
decision.
Right.
Let's check with Scott BR.
Let's
real
check
quick.
with the
Yeah, let's
president.
check
Is
with
the
Linda
president then the
Walby.
vice president?
It's insane.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so fine. So
I'm just telling you. So it didn't just happen. The Ducks had to fall in order, and I was shocked it happened. So when it happened, I just had a letter in my file that said, when Steve Fisher retires, you're going to be the next head coach. And that was fine for a while, but then I got, like most people do, I said, I need something more than that. And under the fear that maybe Jim Sturk would leave and they'd bring someone else in, and even though I had the letter, what was it worth? And so the last year or so, they were working on a term sheet, which outlined the range of salary I would make, the term of the contract, and some incentives. And so it wasn't a contract, but I had a term sheet before Jim Sturk left that the university signed off on. And before Coach even retired, they had advanced that to a contract that I've had in my possession that I'm obviously looking at that we're finalizing. So there's been steps taken along the way that to show that they valued me, they wanted me, and they wanted to make me comfortable with the situation.
Oh, that's good.
Will you be able to now? I mean, listen, a big-time college basketball program's head coach makes a lot of money. They said Coach Fisher was making $1 million a year. Will you take over what he was doing?
No, I won't make that range to start with. But it's like anything, Scott. You have to prove your worth, and you can say you want this and you deserve this, but you prove what you're worth. And so I'll start with a very good salary the university is going to be paying me, and then at some point I'll either be worth that money or they'll be looking for somebody else. That's just the nature of the business.
Well, as long as Scott's the first to know.
Right.
Scott would like to be the first to know.
I'll call Scott and let him make that call.
Yes.
Well, Coach Fisher lied to me and told me I was going to be the first to know if he decided to retire or he decided to come back, and I was clearly not the first.
He's still bitter.
I know.
Yeah.
Talking to Coach Brian Dutcher, the new head basketball coach at San Diego State University. Coach, you talked yesterday. I thought it was really interesting. You said, if I had to come from the outside, I'd be trying to change the culture. That's what guys do, because that's what happens when people get fired or pushed out. I'm not trying to change the culture. In fact, I'm perpetuating the culture here at San Diego State. And I thought it was even more interesting earlier when Coach Fisher had said something to the effect of, I never thought of it as my program. I always thought of it as our program. Like he treated you like a partner rather than an employee. At least that's the perception I got. Is that really an accurate description of what's been going on all these years?
Like I said, Scott, you can't sit in a program and watch Steve Fisher work and not do anything. And the reason assistant coaches stay with Coach Fisher, it's not just me. I mean, Dave Velasquez and Justin Hudson, they're longtime assistants here, obviously not to my length, because we all feel we have ownership in it. We plan the practices. We make defensive, offensive decisions. We're involved in every aspect of the program. Now, Coach makes the ultimate call in the end. We'll sit in meetings and argue and try to get our point across, and then Coach will be, okay, I've heard enough. This is what we're going to do. And then we walk out united because we all feel we've had a say in what's going on in the program. So it's easy to stay when you feel you have ownership in it. And Coach gives ownership. He knows that's how you keep good people. You hire good people, and you let them go to work.
People talk about you, Coach Dutcher, and how long you waited. Were there opportunities along the way where you actually sat down and talked to your wife or talked to Coach Fisher and said, I'm on the verge of taking this head coaching job because I don't know how much longer I can wait around? Did that happen?
I've met with people. I've talked on other things. And the interesting, Scott, is that like if you look at the WCC, which San Diego's a member of, Gonzaga, and you look at the Big West with Irvine and programs like that, in the 18 years I've been here, not one head coach from those programs has climbed to a higher level. And so you have to choose your path wisely. If you want to take Irvine or you want to take Santa Barbara, they're great jobs. But you have to say, I'm taking it because this is where I want to be. I'm going to build this. You can't take it and say, I'm going to win 3 years here and then come back to San Diego State. And so I tell our assistants now, I can't tell you what your path is. Everybody's path is different. I love my path. And I'd like to think part of my value is I'm a family man. And in coaching can be like the military. You can move every 3 or 4 years chasing a job. And I've been able to raise my girls in 2 cities, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and San Diego, California. And so I take great comfort as a family man that I provided a stable environment for my family while loving to come to work every day.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of your 2 daughters, let me just say one thing to you. You're a handsome guy, Coach, but your wife is beautiful, and your 2 daughters are gorgeous. And it's thankfully because of your wife, who, by the way, I loved yesterday at the press conference, because when Coach Fisher stopped talking, she and your daughters were sitting in the front row, and they were the first people to stand to give a standing ovation to what Coach Fisher had just said. And I'm just curious.
Well, they like him better than they like me.
Well, listen, that's the way it goes for most husbands.
Yeah, he's tough competition.
Wow.
He is.
But I wonder this. For all the talk about your relationship with Coach Fisher, I'm curious about your family's relationship with Coach Fisher, because I could only imagine where a wife would say, come on, how much longer can you be his assistant? There's a job for you. You could take that job. You could prove that you're ready to be a head coach. And I'm just curious, your family must have had a terrific relationship with Coach Fisher and his family, because like I said, them standing first and foremost when Coach Fisher was done speaking, it was a symbolic thing that I don't know, it seemed to resonate with me. What is the relationship like between the families?
You know, it's a family. We've been together forever. We've raised each other's kids, basically. And I always took great job security in the fact where it really didn't matter what Coach thought of me. Angie liked me. And so my job security was assured.
You see how smart this man is?
And Angie would say, you're not getting rid of Brian because I love Jan.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's that real family fear and or love and all that stuff. And the thing about jobs, Scott, is like people, they always are going to question you about something or other. So when you're a longtime assistant, they say, well, geez, does he have the desire? Is he just lazy? Does he not want to chase a job? And doesn't he ever want to be a head coach? And those are natural questions, and I understand that. But like I said, I've loved where I've been. I feel as if I am the head coach here. Even though I'm not making the money, I feel as if I'm making decisions that impact the program. And I wanted to take over something I helped build. I mean, when we came here, you wouldn't say this is one of the top 2 jobs in this conference. It's not the top job. Well, we've made it that job. And right now, if I were anywhere else, I probably couldn't get this job. This is one of the most desirable jobs on the West Coast. We helped make it that way. And so I wanted my shot at saying we can get better. We can build from where we're at.
Coach Dutcher, now the San Diego State head basketball coach after Coach Fisher's retirement announcement yesterday. When you look into your coaching crystal ball and you look at this upcoming season and you think, okay, Malik Pope's going to be here, and if this kid has any desire to play in the NBA, which we all know he does, he's got a lot of work to do, which is good news for the Aztec basketball program. Trey Kell's a local kid. He had lots of other places he could have gone. He chose to stay home. This is a kid that for the last 2 years has not played in the NCAA tournament. I know he's coming back for his senior year hungrier than ever before. As you look down the roster to Zylan Cheatham and Jeremy Helmsley and Max Hotzel, and I'm sure I'm missing other guys that are all really key players, and this kid that transferred in from the University of San Francisco who's a local kid, it would seem to me that at least in the short term, the next 2 years, you're set up to have senior leadership on the next 2 teams, and if you can win, which we all think this team has the talent to do that, you can really set up the recruiting for the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, do you feel comfortable that you've been left with a very solid roster?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very good roster. Now, we got to, Coach would never use it as an excuse. We have not been healthy. Malik, when he's injured, he misses 9 games. And that's the thing with Malik. In the last 2 conference tournaments, when you watch him play, you're like, this guy's an NBA player. There's no doubt he's an NBA player. And so he gives you the taste of it. But then it's the injury, the knees bothering him, and he can't do it consistently. We have to get him healthy. we have to get a full year out of him where he's playing at the level that he plays in the conference tournament. Trey was a first-team all-conference player because we won the title. And when we didn't win the title, he's honorable mention. So he obviously is a very good player. He needs to continue to improve his game. We have to get better. You know, sixth place is not where anybody expects to be or wants to be. And like Coach Fisher, I've heard on your show, he says, if I could sprinkle 10 points any direction in the course of a season, we'd be playing for first place. And it sounds like it's cliche, but the distance between that winning and losing is so paper thin that we have to stay healthy. We have to make a couple plays down the stretch, and we have to continue to get better.
Coach Dutcher, I know that you said, you felt ownership of the program. You felt that you were the head coach, even though you didn't get the paycheck that said that. But, of course, Fisher and his legacy, and you were there for all of it. But as the head coach, he gets the credit, let's say, and takes the blame as well when things aren't going right. But of all the things that you've seen and all the time you've spent around Coach Fisher, what is something that you will take from him, as every player takes something from a coach, be it a position coach, a head coach, whatever? What will you, as his longtime assistant, take from Steve Fisher? What is the lesson that you'll always carry that you learned from Coach Fisher, if there is one?
Well, maybe just to contradict what you said, when things are going well, Coach Fisher took none of the credit. All he did was give it to everybody else. And things went bad, he took all the blame. And you're not going to meet very many people in this lifetime that are willing to do that and do it with sincerity and to cover everybody else. And the other thing he was, in a world full of talkers, he was a great listener. And that's a quality that's gone away in life. Everybody wants to hear themselves and speak over other people because it's something important to say that has to be said immediately. And it's something I'm trying to grow at. If I could be as good a listener as Coach Fisher and just be as caring as he is, then we will have great success.
How about that?
Very nice.
I love it.
Incredible.
I love it.
Coach, we asked Coach Fisher yesterday if he'd been hearing from any of the old-time players, guys that you guys brought to Michigan or coached at Michigan, won championships with at Michigan, or recruited that incredible Fab 5 class. As much as everybody's asking Coach Fisher about, are you getting congratulations for retirement, what are you getting? Who's texting you? Who's calling you, congratulating you on finally getting the head coaching job?
I talked to Juwan and Jalen yesterday. It was great to hear from them. And a lot of the former Michigan players have reached out, Gerard Ward from Florida. And then obviously at the press conference to have Malcolm Thomas, who's really dear to my heart, and DJ Gay and Skylar Spencer. J.J. O'Brien came to the office today. Couldn't be at the press conference, but came by. Jamal Franklin at the press conference. And you say, well, let's not hire Dutcher. Let's go elsewhere. But they're coming back to their family, the people that have coached them. And so even though Coach Fisher is not the head coach, all the people they played for are still here. And so people talk family, but we've lived it for 18 years, and hopefully we'll live it for a lot longer.
Coach Dutcher, we're all so excited for you, your family, and the consistency in the San Diego State program. We wish you, your coaches, your players, all the best as we're now well into the off-season workouts. And we got a long time before the season, and I know we'll talk again, but congratulations to you and your family.
And, Scott, I think before we let Coach Dutcher go, we need to secure your role because, Coach Dutcher, as you're aware, Scott has had an advisory position with Coach Fisher prior to the games to enlighten him on ways Scott feels that the game should be played. Will that position continue under your you being coach?
Well, yes, it will, but he's going to have to use Coach Fisher as a buffer. He's going to have to go to Coach Fisher, who will then come to me. He does not have a direct line to the head coach at this point.
No direct line.
Not at this point.
Buffer.
Not at this point.
Buffer.
You got to earn it.
Are you going to lose your seats, too?
No, Coach, I'm going to have to tell you where I disagree. This is going to be our first disagreement,
Oh,
Coach.
no.
Here's the problem.
Here we go.
You don't want Coach Fisher looking over your shoulder. Now, if I start feeding Coach Fisher with concepts and ideas and some diagrams and some plays, and then all of a sudden
he's full of a lot of things, Coach.
Right, and then he delivers that to you because you want the buffer. Well, now the buffer is going to be overbearing. You don't want an overbearing buffer.
No.
Well, like anything, I'm a first-time head coach, Scott, so I'm going to have to figure this out with you.
Right, we'll have to work it out.
with you.
Yeah,
see?
Partnership.
Yeah, it's a partnership.
Partnership, like it is with Rocky Long. That's right. Coach Dutcher, we appreciate you.
Congrats.
And thank you, and congratulations, sir.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank
Way
you
to
to
go,
you.
Dutch.
Thank you to you, Coach, and congratulations to you, your wife, your daughters, the whole fam. It's great. It's awesome. It really is cool.